Good morning and welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming, and I hope that today I'll be offering you some insights. So to anyone who doesn't know who I am, my name is Case. As James has already said, I own and run V-Spot Pizza Bar with my family. It's South Australia's one and only 100% vegan pizza bar. Now, I've been vegan since 2015. Hello, Lee. How are you? I've been vegan since 2015. I won't go into the story too deep. I'll just give you a quick rundown. So in 2003, I had a really bad car accident, which then led to the diagnosis of me having Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is a type of cancer. I battled that for 4 years in and out of hospital, going through all the treatments and the fun that brings along with it. And from there on, I just found that I struggled with my health and was on a bit of a journey to try to find the best diet and lifestyle to help myself. Obviously, I would fall off the bandwagons along the way, and I would binge and do all sorts of silly food that I don't eat anymore. And in 2015, I had an epiphany. I had turned vegan and never felt better in my life. But it just started off as health for me, and within a week, I was an animal rights activist because I had seen what happens to the animals. Thank you, by the way. So I'm here and I'd like to talk to you all about the importance of speaking up for those who can't. For us humans, we do have a voice. There is injustice in this world, but we can speak up for ourselves. We do have others that can help us out, and we can get some help when in need. Unfortunately for the animals, they are screaming out in pain, but the industry and us don't hear it because it's out of sight and out of mind. So it is on us to try to speak up for them and to help them. We already do that when it comes to our beloved pets, and we are just trying to extend that compassion to all the animals that we view as food. Now, is there anybody that's here that isn't vegan? And I'm not singling anybody out, so I just would like to get a bit of a count just so I know. Okay, cool. Thank you for the honesty. So to everybody that is vegan, I would just like to say, morally speaking, it doesn't make us special. The reason I say this is because in the same way that we don't applaud one another for not being racist or hurting somebody else or doing bad things, we don't really applaud ourselves for that. We're just supposed to do it. So it's more of a moral obligation. Now, speaking up for the animals, that I believe is basically, it's the right thing to do. That's when you're going out of your way to try to help make change in this world. So it becomes morally virtuous of us to do such a thing. There's many different forms of activism. So I think a lot of people misunderstand when somebody says speak up for the animals to going out there yelling and screaming on the streets and creating ruckus and making people feel alienated and dislike the movement. And this is the furthest thing from the truth. All sorts of activism are important because everybody receives the message differently. So I believe that we shouldn't mock each other or give each other a hard time. Constructive criticism is very important, but I feel in the vegan movement there is a lot of backlash. There is a lot of people that will put others down. So we end up having this really big debate about what is the best form of activism, while forgetting that the victims are on those trucks, in those slaughterhouses, every single second of every day. 2,300 animals on average die, land animals that is, every single second. As I'm talking here, 2,300 just died again. This is something that we just, when you think about it, it's mind-boggling of just how full-on that is. And this is why it's so important for us now more than ever to speak up. And with the power of social media, we have so much more that we can do than what we used to be able to. One message now that you can put online could potentially reach thousands, if not millions of people. Before the age of social media, we didn't have that luxury. We only had the chance of talking to people face to face. And that is still very important. Which leads me to explain about the types of activism that I get involved in. And this may not be for everybody, so don't feel like this is a push onto anybody. This is just a suggestion of what I do and what I think works really, really well. So I'm part of the Anonymous for the Voiceless Adelaide chapter. I'm one of the organisers. You will see their tent just there. And you can see the Cube of Truth demonstrations throughout the day. They will be happening periodically. So do check them out. Go in there for some information. You can find out more about what we do and how we do it. I found it to be very, very powerful because I've been doing it for many years now. And out on the streets, the reactions of not only the general public, the people that don't know about the industry, but also the new activists that join us is mind-blowing. A lot of people sit on the sidelines and will judge something before they have been out there to try it. And they get this image in their mind of what they think it is that we do, and it's very daunting and very scary on them, and it's nerve-wracking. But in reality, it's a wonderful group. We all like to work together. We all like to help each other out. And not only do you go out there and get to make a change and see it for yourself, because like I said, the reaction so many times of new activists is phenomenal. How shocked they are at how much change you can create in one day, at a few hours out of your time in the week. Not only the public, but us as a group, we get to meet new people. So it turns into a social group as well. So you form new friendships, which is really important. I believe the number one thing that's holding back the vegan movement right now is not the meat industry. It's not the lies and propaganda. It is the fact that we're not unified in our cause. We don't need to agree with each other on everything. And I'm more than happy to work with people I dislike or people that I don't agree with on many different levels. And I will offer my criticisms, but I'll do it in a civil manner because I believe that is the best way to go forward. Because if we just shun one another and don't speak to each other about what we think is wrong, we are potentially just having a very closed-minded, ignorant attitude, which is not going to help us get anywhere we need to be. I want to ask anybody in the audience, if anybody wants to just answer, do you think there is anything else apart from the infighting that is a huge hindrance on the vegan movement? Anyone? Yep. So that was depression and burnout from all of the stress and the hate as well. Yep. That is a very, very good point. I experienced this myself. A lot of people may see me in the way that I interact and think that I've got it all together and I'm always happy and helping the animals and it's all rainbows and sunshine and I feel like it's all hopeful. No, there are many days I feel down, I feel hurt, I feel depressed. But that is the importance of having that group and the friendships and the unity, is then to be able to lean on those people and they will help lift you back up. If we could do that for one another, when I'm down, you can lift me up, and when you're down, I'll lift you up. And if we did that more, we would be so much stronger than what we are right now. And that's a very important thing. And you have to remind yourself that it's natural to go through days feeling that it's hopeless. You know, when we're driving in the cars and you see a truck roll by and you think, well, that's just depressing how so many people are not alert to that. You know, it's almost like normal to them. They see a bunch of pigs put in a truck. I won't get into the graphic details, but you get the picture. It's really depressing because we'll be sitting there with the lights and thinking, this is just horrible. How are we in 2019 and this is still legal? This is still happening. But you got to remember, only 5 years ago for me, I was in the same boat as everybody else. I was sitting in the car looking at those pigs thinking, yeah, that's just normal. That's what we have to do. So we have to try to put our inconveniences aside, our little arguments, because they are insignificant compared to the lives of these animals. Sure, there is many, many things that we need to fix after we have a vegan world, because veganism to me isn't the solution that ends every problem, but is one of the biggest impacting things that you could do right now. And the power is in your hands. You don't have to wait for government change. You don't have to wait for any legislation or anybody else to do it. The power is literally yours right there and then. Walk into the shops, make your choice, go home and help others wake up to the truth. Because I know for sure for myself, I wish somebody else came to me long ago and gave me the truth. Now, it doesn't have to be vulgar. We don't have to be arrogant. We don't have to be shoving ideas down people's throats. But you got to remember that the animals are having knives shoved into their throats. That is the problem in this world. That is where this hatred, this discrimination is all coming from. That if we can treat the most innocent, vulnerable beings with such utter disgust, we don't really have much of a chance of treating each other with the respect and love that we should be. Spread the truth with compassion, spread it with understanding, but do not sugarcoat the truth. You can change the delivery so that way it will suit the person that you're speaking to, because it is very important. If you're speaking to somebody who's elderly, you cannot speak to them the same way you're speaking to a 14-year-old street punk who thinks that, they're the coolest thing going around. So you've got to tailor your message to the person that you're speaking to, and that is very important. I just want to go back to about unity. Now, the problem is that we have right now is vegans are a minority of the population. As much as we would love it to be the majority, unfortunately we are not. But we are growing, and we are growing really, really fast. So I don't want anybody to lose hope, because in 2015, the only thing that I could find at the stores that was pretty much vegan was the bio cheese, and that was like $15 for a small pack. Right now, the supermarkets are filled up, and they're all competing with one another. And it's only going to get bigger and bigger from here on in, and it's only been 4 years. In the last 4 years, we've had more change than we've probably had in decades. And if you don't believe me, you can ask anyone who's been vegan for a long time, and they will tell you just how much they went through and how little options they had when it came to vegan food at restaurants or even the shopping centers. It is so much more convenient and easier on us these days that there's no inconvenience on us anymore. But even if there was, let's just go with the hypothetical that there was not a single vegan option as far as mock meats are concerned, cheeses and so on. We just had whole foods that we could eat. It is still on us to do the right thing, because we would never accept it in another context where somebody would say, oh look, it's just inconvenient for me, so therefore I'm going to do the wrong thing just because it's easier. And it's important to help people make the connection on ethics, because veganism is about that exactly. Health and the environment are very important things, especially because it's our home that we all live on. But ethics at the end of the day is the core of veganism, and that's the message that we need to get across. So deliver it in the best way that you can, deliver it with love, and always speak to the person that you're speaking to with the respect that you would want to be spoken with. At the end of the day, that's what we try to base most of our morals off, is what would I accept if I was in the other person's shoes? How would I want to be treated? And if we remember that, I feel like we can really make some big changes. Unity is so important, and as I said before, once the world is at a good place, there is still so many things that we got to work at to try to fix. We got to help the homeless. We got to help more environmental issues. We got to get rid of mass consumerism. There's a lot of things that we need to work on. But just because there's a lot of problems, it doesn't mean we just sit back and go, oh look, somebody else will take care of it. That attitude of someone else will do it is really, really harmful, because again, veganism is so easy. The change starts with you, and you can make such a big, big impact on people's lives. And I'll take my family as an example. Both my mother and father had lots of health issues. Things like arthritis, blood pressure, cholesterol. And all of those things have now been under doctor's orders, to be taken off their medications, and they've all improved. And they're well into their 60s. So it's not only that it's the right thing to do morally, but it's also the right thing to do for people's health, and it's easy to do it right. The information has never been more accessible. I mean, these days you just jump online and everything's at your fingertips, basically. I want to get back to your point about what you said about the depression and the burnout. I think the best way to deal with that is to, perspective. Now, it doesn't mean that you're not allowed to feel down because someone else might have it worse than you, because, yeah, sure, somebody else might have it worse, but that doesn't mean that what you have going on is insignificant or, not important. But the best way to deal with it is to let those emotions sit with you for a while. Deal with them. Ask yourself, where are they coming from? What can I do to help myself through this? Because at the end of the day, your self-help, wanting to help yourself, is going to be your ticket out of it. If we want somebody else to come and help us through it, sure, we can reach out, but you have to want the help and be willing to accept it. And it's never going to be easy. We are facing a mammoth task, and you got to remember, this is, for us, we know the truth. So every time we see a piece of flesh at the stores, or we see a truck going by with the animals on it, or we flick on Facebook or whatever it may be, and you see some videos and footage of things happening, we know the depth of it because we have seen it. We're so much more exposed to it. So it will affect us. But when you put it into perspective that this is something that's affecting me emotionally, those animals are getting affected physically. Reach out for that help. Work with somebody who knows you really well, you're close with, and just reach out for the support. I mean, like I was saying about the Anonymous for the Voiceless group, we always try to offer each other support whenever we're down. We reach out, and if somebody wants, to have the help, they will take that offer up. So, any other suggestions of what anyone thinks is holding back the movement? Yes. Yes, that is a fantastic point. We have to start changing on the inside, and not only just with our physical actions that we do, but also believing it, living it every day. Because if you're walking around going, this is hopeless, this is never going to happen, but still being vegan, you're only going to make it harder on yourself. And when you concentrate on the negatives, you'll only see the negatives. And this is what I was saying about perspective, is when you shift that to positives, you will start to notice that there are a lot of good things out there. There's a lot of good in this world and there's a lot of bad. And I myself am very guilty. Have been, moments in my life where I've looked at all the bad things and it does spiral you into a bit of a depression state. But if you concentrate on that positives again and just see how many wonderful people there are. So many people out there sacrificing so much of their lives and their time to do the right thing. They don't have to. Nobody's forcing them to do that. They are choosing to do that on the behalf of humanity, the animals themselves, to make a difference. There are countless names of activists, and use them as your inspiration. But a very important point to remember is when you look at these big name activists who are out there really putting in every second of every day, just remind yourself that not to be feeling as if you're insignificant next to them. Because a lot of us may look and think, oh, they're doing so much, I'm not really doing anything, so I kind of feel bad, and I'm just going to sit down and not worry about it anymore because my efforts are insignificant. This is not true. Every single one of those activists started off exactly where you are. Every single one of them took those steps consistently on a daily basis to try to get where they wanted to get. I mean, you think about it from anything else in life. When you go to the gym, you don't get up and the next day and you're instantly the next biggest, strongest bodybuilder in the world. It takes a very long time. And if your actions are you go once, that's the results that you're going to get. If you go consistently all the time and you push through the hard and the good times, you are going to get the results that you want. And you'll have such a big voice that you'll be able to do the things that you want to do. But remember, all the little things count just as much as the big things. Every single person can make a difference. If you have one really strong person trying to lift so much, they're going to struggle. You get 10 or 15 people who don't have to be exceptionally physically strong or anything, and you can lift the same thing with ease. It's all about power in numbers. The more of us that are out there speaking up, doing what we can do, it will make a big difference. So just remember that, to work at it every day, and it's okay to feel nervous. Trust me, I was really nervous getting up here to speak today. I'm nervous when I go to set up my shop to start working because it means something to you. That's how I've always felt. If it means enough to you, you're going to feel nervous and you're going to feel all of these emotions that come along with it. But we never ever grow being in our comfort zone. We have to push past that. And it is difficult, and everybody has things going on in their lives, and I'm not taking anything away from anyone with conditions. I'm just saying that to grow past the things that are holding you back right now, you need to step past those things and put yourself out there. Get out of that comfort zone. Because what your comfort zone is today will be surpassed tomorrow. And then your new comfort zone will be further up and further up again. And by the time you look back, you'll be shocked and you'll be so pleased and proud of yourself of just how far you've come and just how much you've accomplished and how much more that you can do and take on. I remember the first vigil I went to, and that was up at Big River Pork in Murray Bridge. And it was only a small group of us, about 12 people. It was the first time I'd seen the animals as a vegan in the back of a truck. And when the pig's eyes caught my eyes, I looked down in shame. I was ashamed that for all those years I didn't know and I had contributed to their death and suffering. But the nerves that I felt that day were just tremendous. But now that when I go back the second time, I know what to expect. I've stepped out of my comfort zone. And sure, I still feel uncomfortable. Don't get me wrong. I don't think I'll ever stand outside one of those places and think, yeah, this is wonderful. I feel great today. Because that's when I know I've lost myself. But the point of the story is, I don't fear it. I want to be there. And I want to speak up for them. And I want to do the right thing. And I'm sure every activist feels the same way. Anybody who's entering a slaughterhouse, take the team from Dominion. Imagine the sorts of things they had to get up to and see to get that footage. Now, they weren't born with that. They built their way up. So I just want to thank everybody for listening, and I hope that you can take something away from this today. And I really do hope we will do a Q&A, so you get to ask some questions. I really hope that everybody will work together. And anytime you have any issues, just always remember that bring them up in a civil manner and have a discussion. It's okay to disagree with others. And separate your feelings from what the cause needs to be and what we need to do. And we can work on it together from there and be better for it, for the animals, for ourselves, and just for everything in general. It's the only way forward, I believe. Thank you. How am I doing for time? All right. All right, well, let's take some questions. Anybody have a question? Mr. James Aspey will walk out to you and with his pretty self, and he'll take your question. Lovely lady over here.
I just wanted to ask how you deal with infighting in the action, like the movement.
That's a very loaded question and a good one. Thank you for asking. I guess it depends on who it is and what the problem is. So in some instances where it may be very insignificant and I guess driven by ego or somebody just wanting to run the show, in a lot of those instances, you kind of have to approach that person, explain to them that exact issue, and try to make them shift their perspective. Now, some people are not willing to be reasoned with, so you can only try so much. But don't let that drag you down and become your focal point that this person now becomes the thing that you need to work on for veganism, because they are just one person at the end of the day, or a small group. And you may have to move on from them, and if you're friends with them, they may not be your friends anymore. If they're colleagues that you're just working with, you may just have to keep your distance from them. But first and foremost, I say, is always have the conversation. Try to come to them from a place of you're concerned, not only just for the way that they're behaving and their well-being, but also for the effects that it may have on the movement. But also be willing to have an open mind that maybe our opinions and our views of that situation may be off. So in some instances, they might say something to you and you'll be like, okay, that makes sense, I guess you're right. Or how about we tweak this and we work at it from there. Infighting does get me down, I will say that. There is a lot of it, and a lot of it is about very small, insignificant reasons in my eyes, as I said, in comparison to the animals. Some things are very warranted and we should discuss them and speak about them. Other things I feel like people are just looking at it from what they want rather than putting the animals first. And that's a massive thing. Always remember why you're doing this. If you remember the victims, all of the other stuff just seems to be, pushed to the side. But if it's about you and I want the status and I want to do this and I want to do that, when there's too many eyes going on, then you know that there's a problem. Anyone else? I'm sure someone. Yeah, there we go. I was going to say, come on, people. It's James out there. Get him, go near you.
Hi, Case. I'm just wondering, for people who want to be more active and want to talk more to people, but they just don't know how to effectively communicate, what are the tips that you would give them on the best ways to actually communicate with people if they're undergoing some kind of criticism or people are really going at them with, just attacking veganism?
All right, perfect question. Thank you. I guess it comes back to what I was saying before about when you see other activists who go out there and do speak to people and communicate with them, they weren't born with that gift of just being amazing at it. I know James is one of the people everyone talks about. They're like, I wish I could speak like James to the animals. But James probably started exactly where you are. He had to start with a conversation with the first person, nervous as all hell, worried about what am I going to say? What is this person going to ask me back, and how am I going to tackle this question? And with time, you get better and better, and it's okay that you make some mistakes, that you're going to have a conversation that might stump you, but you need to work at it. And we can't put this pressure. I guess the biggest point that I give you is don't put this pressure on your shoulders that I need to turn this person vegan right now. I need to save the world. Because I can tell you right now, the minute that you do that, you failed. There's no way in hell you're going to be able to carry that workload, that stress, and deliver the message effectively without having a million thoughts going through your head at the same time. I personally approach people when I want to speak to them just like I'm going to have a chat. Literally just a simple chat with them, say hello, how are you today, and start the conversation and let it flow organically from there. I try to ask them questions so that it can lead them to their own, perspective of what's going on, but also hopefully have them engage with me. It all comes down to practice. Watching so much material on the internet of other people doing it, getting some pointers, getting some inspiration, but ultimately you do have to get out there and do it. We do have workshops that we run every now and again in Adelaide. We have been a bit hard, strapped for time lately, so we haven't, but that is something that we do through the Anonymous for the Voiceless group, but also at VSpot. So we do role play scenarios where we pretend like one person is the person being outreached and one outreacher, and we just try to stump the other person, have a good laugh, and just get you feeling comfortable with having somebody kind of I wouldn't say attacking, but trying to question you in a very heated manner. So that is something there. Support, I guess, is another thing. If you have people that understand that with you, will go out there with you and give it a try. But I believe that everybody should come out to some of the activism events that are around Adelaide. And if something that you see isn't what you like, you can always start your own thing. There's never a shortage of groups. Get out there, open up, start a new group, get out and just put an event up. We'll join you. That's the best way that we can spread the message, because no type of activism is bad in my eyes. It's all taken differently by different people. So, thank you. So that would be my thing I want to finish up on. I'll say get out there, just try different events, see what you like. Because seeing it online, I can tell you right now, is very, very different than you being there in person. So whether it be street activism, vigils, whether you want to be doing a protest, whether you want to be doing a cupcake sale, whatever it is that you want to do, because they're all effective forms of activism, just be honest and real with yourself, deliver the message with truth, and see what fits in best with you, and always remember why you're doing it, and that's obviously for the animals. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful day. If you do want to find me, I'll be at the VSpot stall. I have a few panels happening today, so do come up, say hello. I'd love to have a chat with you. Thank you once again. Great job, brother. Thanks, brother. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Case. You did an awesome job, brother, and you touched on a lot of really interesting and important points. So thank you so much for sharing everything that you've learned over the years.